everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly episode. It is episode number 359 for June the 9th, 2026. So let's jump right into what I am doing. And you saw the title about getting my Sojo back. But have I? Well, let's take a look at what I've been working on, and you can decide. So let's see, button, push the button. Here we go. Okay, design board. I'm just starting with that to show you there's several different projects up here. I like to use my design board for many things, and this is one of them. When I am working on a project, of course, I put pieces up there to see how they're going to look. But when I get them done, I also use it as a display board. And depending on what the item is that's up there, I will sometimes leave it up for a while as a backdrop to any other videos that I might be making during the week. So a lot of things going on here. I did mention each of these briefly yesterday, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about them today. Starting off with the table runner. Okay, so there it is. It's all done. I started this before we left for Japan. It is called Lunar Blooms and Moons or something like that, I think. And I think it was a Sweet Pea design. Don't remember correctly. I think I did put a link up for this a few weeks ago, actually before we went to Japan. So if you just go to Sweet Pea, do a search, you'll probably find it. Or what you can also do, I've mentioned this before, but I wonder how many people are doing this. This is a little side tip. Have this up on your screen. Open up Google on your phone. Click on the picture setting. Put this, take a picture of this, and Google will find it for you. Excuse me, it will. And that's a great tip too as well. If you're looking for fabric, you see fabric on somebody's YouTube or somewhere else, you take a picture of it, you can upload it into Google through their Google search, and it'll probably find it for you and tell you what the name of it is and where it's available. Yeah, I use that all the time when I'm looking for things. It's a great feature of Google, and I'll bet you there's a lot of you out there that aren't using that at all. You should try it. Anyways, back to this. So when I first started working on this, I don't usually use black backgrounds, but I thought in the case of this, and they did show it as a black background, I would, mainly because of the colors and the way it's been designed. It makes it almost look sort of like black lightish. There's a hard word to say. So I did that, and I had to play around with the colors. Do I have a picture here? Yeah, I do. Okay, you'll notice I have two matching placemats. That was not in the instructions. However, I mean, anytime you do one of these table runner things, they all have the potential to make matching placemats with them as well. These are the end pieces back here. See these pieces right here? The one on the far left, the one on the far right. Those are the end pieces. And then there's 3 more panels that go together to make the table runner. Well, oops, I was having a little trouble getting my colors right. If you notice on this one, it is sort of a green I got in there. And I did not like the green because the whole idea of this table runner is to have sort of this phases of the moon kind of look to it, the celestial look. And they really needed to be done in silver. I know it doesn't show up as silver on the screen here right now, but that is what it is. So for some reason, I didn't change my threads out. I don't know what I was thinking. And it's not easy to match up colors with the embroidery machines. Yes, these companies like OESD and others, they have within their file, it has numbers for threads you should use, for embroidery threads you should use. However, it depends on the brand. Like OESD likes to use Isocor. Isocor is nice, but I have Floriani. That's what I started with, and that's what I've got like about 600 spools of in my collection. So I'm not switching over to Isocor anytime soon. And the other thing is my embroidery machine, and all embroidery machines are a little different, but the way mine works is you can set it up so that it will give you, for whatever file you've put into it, the thread numbers by brand. Well, when you know it, Janome does not have a deal, and this is because these companies have deals with these embroidery um, file manufacturers. It doesn't have a deal with Floriani, so Floriani doesn't exist. They have about 10 other different ones, but not Floriani. So what do? Well, it defaults to Janome. I have an app on my phone that allows me to convert. Well, it doesn't do a true convert, but it allows me to come close between different types of threads in Floriani. And so I plug in the number for the thread that is being used in the original file, and it tells me what it thinks the Janome one is. Not Janome, sorry, the Floriani color is. However, it gives you a spectrum of colors, of shades. So really, you've got to decide for yourself which color you're going to use. Excuse me about my throat. So that's what I was doing, and I made bad choices. Not only did I make bad choices once, I made bad choices twice. I also realized that if you look at this one, the finished product, the flowers pop out more because I was using the wrong color. I was using too dark a color for the outline around the flowers. Once I got this all established, I carried on with making all of the panels, as you see here. But that left me with 4 panels. What was I going to do with them? Throw them away? No. I made them into matching placemats. It doesn't matter so much. Yes, these colors don't match, but you know, on a table with a plate on top of them, who's really going to notice? So I've made a table runner placemat set. Now you see that I did bind this in the traditional way. I used to, when I made table runners and placemats, I would do the envelope or pillowcase fold or whatever you call that. I don't like the edges. I'm sorry about this with my throat. It must be the morning air. I've got all the windows and doors open trying to get a nice breeze in. Anyways, coffee. I used to do that a lot because I was lazy. Did not like how they turn out. I don't like the corners. The corners, you never get your corners punched out nice and pointy like you do with a mitered border on a binding. And I know, you should cut off some of the excess and do that. I do that, but it still don't get it perfectly. And then you have to do a top stitch. And my top stitch, when you're going through 3 layers of fabric and batting, never looks completely straight. Although, mind you, now I use invisible thread a lot for that kind of thing, so it's not quite as noticeable. But I just don't like it. It just looks amateurish when it's finished. So I do make a point of doing a binding. And it doesn't take that long. I mean, it's a table runner or a placemat. You can bind those in no time at all. The thing that takes the most time is making the binding itself. I also added a border, and I picked this kind of gray. Actually, I think it's Fairy Frost is the name of the fabric. It's in gray. It's got a bit of a shimmer to it. And then I did some basic straight line quilting. I just went around and around, 1/4 inch spacing between each line. Just gives it a little bit of texture. I also, when I put these together, when I layer it, I use Battleizer. Battleizer is a low loft batting. I love it for these kind of projects, especially projects that you want to lay flat. So I use that a lot in my embroidery pieces. And I put a backing on it, and the backing is the same as what you see here in the binding. And I also did a little bit of in the ditch across each of the seams. That's just to hold all the layers together. And I went around on the inside of this little piece that looks almost like piping. It's not, it's embroidery. And that secures everything along with the quilting I did on the borders. So I'm kind of happy with the way this turned out. It's a little unusual. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's sitting with all my other table runners. I make too many table runners, but I really love table runners. What I should do is when I have pieces in, like I was showing you with this and the placemats, when I have pieces of these, I could turn those into a quilt. I really could. It takes a long time to make the quilt, but it might be kind of fun as one of those things, you know, you do when you need a palette cleanser. put it to the side, work on your other projects, come back when you need a break, work on some of this. Maybe. Thought for the future. Okay, next project. I had to have them. I had just gone on Sweet Pea the week before. They had a big sale. I think the sale's still on, 50% off in the hoop projects. And I went through them and I picked out about 9. I think I spent about $80 Canadian on files. And actually, that was a pretty good price because everything was 50% off. And that's what I tell myself, and I believe it. Then suddenly this popped up. You know I love gnomes, and I have done several of these style of gnomes, which are basically, they're, I don't know how big this is, a couple of feet, 2 feet large, something like that. It's actually on the door behind me. You can't see it right now. But I love doing them. And of course, Canada Day is coming up, July the 1st for us. So I thought this might be something nice to hang on the front door when we get closer to that. And it gave me a chance to use some of my Canadian O Canada fabric line from Northcott, which I usually use for my Quilts of Valor. But I have scraps, and I save all my scraps of this fabric because I love it. So that's what I made, and this is an in the hoop project, but it's done in 3 sections, and you sew the 3 sections together in the hoop. The program is set up in such a way that you can see where you have to put the pieces, and you line them up while it's not under the needle of your machine, and it does a zigzag across to join them. The first time you do it, you might get it crooked, but because it's a zigzag, a fairly wide zigzag, it's easy to pull it apart and try again. But once you've done a few of them, it's really, really simple. And it's kind of nice that you're doing it in the hoop because you don't have to worry about lining them up and doing them on your sewing machine. So that's a great thing. Let's see, what else can I say about this? Oh yes, I use water soluble stabilizer. Why water soluble? Well, you have a lot of edges. If you use something that was a cutaway, you'd have to cut it very, very close to this satin stitch that goes all the way around the outside. And I've tried that, and it's disastrous. Inadvertently, you will cut some of the satin stitches, and then they start to unravel. So no, don't use a cutaway. Use a water soluble. Then when you're finished the whole project, you just trim about 1/4 of an inch away from the edges of the finished piece to get rid of the excess soluble stabilizer, and then you immerse it in water. Some people throw it in their washing machine. I don't do that because then you've got a lot of pressing to do because it will come out in a big ball and be very wrinkly. And if you enjoy pressing, maybe you'll like that. But I find because these tend to puff up a little bit when you wash them, when the water soluble comes out, and all the water soluble will come out. And that's not a good thing. And I'll tell you why. If you have put it in your washing machine and all of your water soluble has dissolved, because there's water soluble on the inside of all of this in layers, then what you pull out of your washing machine or dryer is limp. It just, and you compress it, and then you're going to have to starch it if you want that nice crispness. So don't do that. Fill a sink with water. Throw this in the sink. Swish it around for about 30 to 40 seconds until the water soluble, you can't see it on the edges anymore. And that's all it takes is about 30 or 40 seconds. Take it out. Let it drip. The bulk of the water drip out of it. You can give it a light squeeze. Okay, I wouldn't roll it all up in a ball though and wring it, okay, because that's going to wreck it. Just give it a light pat. Yes, it's going to be drippy, so you might want to have a pan beside you or something to catch the drips, and then lay it out flat. I take it and I lay it out on a couple of layers of paper towels underneath it, a couple of layers of paper towels on top of it. I pat it all down to absorb the excess water. You won't get it all out. And then when you've done that, and you can do that as many times as you wish, I just do it once, I lay it out. I actually lay it out on my wool mat. I don't know if I should recommend that, but this is an old wool mat. I've been using it for years because some of the residue the water has some of the sticky in it, and it will get into your mat and make your mat a little crispy. I have a special brush that I use. It's actually meant for sweaters to take, like, to ball them or whatever you call that. And I go over the wool mat every now and then with that to clean it up, and it'll pull up a lot of the, the fibers that are sticky, have gotten stiff in that, and it pretty much cleans it up really nicely. So I don't worry too much about that, but if you are, you could lay it out on a towel and let it dry overnight. It'll dry pretty fast, but I suggest just leaving it alone, let it stay flat, and give it, an overnight dry. And the next day you'll be fine. And it'll be just stiff enough that when it hangs up, it's not limp. Because after all, this is not something you're going to give to somebody to cuddle with. So the stiffness is a good thing. The more water soluble you take out of it, the limper it's going to get. So, you have to decide for yourself which you like best. But anyways, I think he's a really cute little guy, and I love making these. They're fun to make too. Once you've made your first one you do, you're going to be a little confused about the joinings, but don't despair. They have instructions with them. And as I said, once you've done it once, you're fine. Okay, so I've got the Art East second star to the right, the Peter Pan quilt. I've got the 3rd month done. And I had some little problems, which I didn't realize I was having any little problems until I finished the whole thing, which is typically me. If you look at my Teddy, he's a little weird. Teddy has a flat head to start with. I thought he was supposed to have a flat head. I didn't realize his head shouldn't be flat until I saw another friend of mine who's doing the same thing. And we compared Teddy's. Her Teddy has a round head. My Teddy has a flat head. Not sure how that happened. And then there's this little piece right here. Okay, where'd that come from? I think that's supposed to be part of this arm. It's supposed to go up here, or maybe it's over here. I don't know what I did, but it's not right. But guess what? It's there now. So live with it. And Teddy's head is not really straight. Teddy's head should be like over a little bit. So I don't know what I did. I really don't. But you want to know something? This is how I explain it. This is Teddy. He is well loved. He's been used for years. And when Teddies are well loved and are used for years and years and years, and possibly for generations, they get a little worn and a little beat up. And that's just love marks. So my Teddy's been well loved. That's the way I'm taught. I'm explaining it and I'm leaving it. It just wouldn't be one of my quilts if it looked exactly like the finished product's supposed to look, would it? That's why I'm an idiot. I'm not going to worry about it. I think it's still cute. And, well, I have a breather this month now because I got this done early in the month. Then there's July, and that's the 4th one. I haven't even looked to see which character we're doing in July. Because, yes, the cutting. I do not enjoy the cutting. Enjoy the final product, but don't enjoy the cutting. So, anyways, that's out of my hair for now. Now, this thing, you've seen it before. It was a quickie. It is an in-the-hoop thread painting. There's no applique in this. It is all thread. It's not that big. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I haven't decided. It's meant to be a wall hanging. But I'm out of walls for hanging things. And I like it. It turned out pretty good. I haven't layered it yet. I am seriously considering either adding some borders to it, maybe adding, even adding some patchwork to it, make it maybe more into a quilt or a wall quilt. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I haven't decided. Inspiration has not hit me. And a few of you have mentioned, I've mentioned this before, a few of you have added some suggestions to the comments about what I could do with it. Thank you very much. You've given me some food for thought. Yeah, I could make a giant tote bag out of it. I could make a bench pillow, but then it would be sideways. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. It could be a sort of a table runner, but if I add more pieces to it, but I don't know if I want to do that either. Lots of possibilities. I don't know what I want to do with it. So, anyways, it's done. Or, well, partially done. Okay, so that's the things I've been working on. And all of those things have helped me. They were more or less completion projects um, when I got back from Japan. So, yeah, um, they're done. They're out of my hair. So, moving on. Now, I did mention I've kind of got my Sojo back. I kind of haven't either. I'm not, when I first got into quilting, and of course, everybody who first gets into quilting, you're very much enthused with it. Everything is new to you, and there's so many things you want to do. Well, I still am enthused with it. I still like quilting. I still have lots of projects I want to do. But my problem now is I'm not working as fast as I used to. I used to knock off quilt after quilt. In any given month, I'd be probably making 4 quilts. Now I'm lucky if I get a quilt done every 2 months, kind of a thing. Um, I'm not sure what that says about me. Maybe well, I've got other interests too, like my 3D printing and stuff like that. Um, but I'm just not as enthused about it. Fabric used to fascinate me. That's why I've got a huge stash of fabric. Now I look at it, I go to a quilt store. I seldom buy fabric except fabric for maybe a project I'm about to do or that I need. It used to be I'd walk in and see new bolts of fabric and go, oh yeah, I'll take 2 meters of that. I'll take 2 meters of that. I'll take 2 meters of that. And $500 later, I went out with a stash of fabric. Then I got home, put it on the shelf, and that's where it sits forever. I'm out of shelf space, and I have a lot of fabric that no longer thrills me, or I just don't have a use for it. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, in terms of my Sojo, fabric's not thrilling me anymore. Machines used to thrill me. Well, I got them all now. So, yeah, things have calmed down. It doesn't mean I don't like doing this and I'm going to stop doing it. It just means, well, priorities. Now, I've got a whole lot of in the hoop projects I want to do, as I mentioned earlier, that I purchased from Sweet Peas on their big sale. And I want to get to those. But the problem when you do in the hoop embroidery or embroidery of any type, it's kind of like watching paint dry. Depending on the project, these things can take you hours and hours and hours, and you're sitting there watching it. And that's boring. That's really boring. So, yeah, you need to have another project on the go. But then this is what happens to me. I'm a mess. I start working on another project on my regular sewing machine. I've got the embroidery machine going, and won't you know, that's when I make mistakes or the machine decides it doesn't want to cooperate. Yeah. So I don't know. Now, this is probably just me. I don't know if any of you have had the same problems, but sometimes these things, at least for me, make me just not want to do anything at all. And that's what I meant by partially getting back my Sojo. I need to find something that's going to turn me on. Well, I may have. I ordered some Japanese fabric, and yeah, I'm going to show this to you in a minute. But I'm going to show you as well in a minute what I have planned for that Japanese fabric. And this is getting me excited for a couple of reasons, but we'll talk about that in a moment. In the meantime, let's talk about what's coming up before I forget. Sewing with me, Wednesdays, always 9 a.m. start Eastern Time, and at 4 p.m., come and go as you please, work on whatever you want. Link is in the show notes. You probably have that memorized by now because I say it every week. Pop-up sew day, we had one of those this past weekend. It was great. There weren't a lot of people there, but it fluctuates, and I didn't expect a lot this time of the year, as I've said before, because the weather's nice. People have plans on weekends because pop-up sew days are always on Saturdays, and they're getting out and about. And I told you yesterday that I could have been out doing something different than the pop-up sew day too. I'm not complaining. No, I love doing pop-up sew days. I really do. I love doing those, and I love my favorite thing in a week is doing the sew days on Wednesdays. I have friends that come because, and these are all people that were our subscribers, and new people are welcome, but there's a core of people. Don't translate that into new people are not welcome. It's a clique. It is not. New people are absolutely welcome, and we make sure they feel welcome when they join us. So don't ever think that we're not a clique. But many of these people I have known now for several years since I started sewing with Stephen, and they're friends, and I enjoy seeing them every week. The only thing I regret is that we don't live closer and we could get together regularly and hit the quilt stores and have lunch. Yeah, but this does. So I look forward to Wednesdays, and I look forward to my pop-up sew days for the same reason. So yeah. So anyways, we had a good time. I think people got caught up on things. And when's the next pop-up sew day? Tentatively, maybe July the 11th. I'd say tentatively, maybe, because that would be a special one. Every year, I throw a pop-up sew day close to my birthday. My birthday is July the 14th. So the closest Saturday to that is July the 11th. And when I do the pop-up sew day Stephen's birthday bash, I try to do a couple of special things, like maybe have some prizes on that day, and whatever else I can come up with or think about, just to make it a little bit more special. Because there's nothing anybody can get me for my birthday. If I want something, I get it for myself. But I really like giving things on my birthday to other people. I do. I'm a gift giver. I like to give gifts. I do. But anyways, yeah. But you can sort of lightly pencil it into your calendar because I don't know what's coming up. But there will be a pop-up sew day sometime in July. Okay, let's go to subscribers' comments in the last week. Well, really didn't have any that I want to talk about because most of you were giving me suggestions for what I can do with my Japanese fabrics, and thank you so much for those suggestions. And in a moment here, I'm going to show you what I am going to do with the Japanese fabrics. But right now, let's just talk about what's been happening in the other things that I put up here. Monday morning coffee with Stephen. It was all about Pride Month. Well, it was about a lot of things. It always is, but we talked about that, and I talked about the seriousness of why we need to have a Pride Month and why we need to have the Pride parades, even at this point in the 21st century. And should it be political or not? So if you haven't seen that, that's what was on Monday, Morning Coffee with Stephen. So Chatty last week, we carried on with the Accuquilt. I did the double wedding ring die with lots of problems. And that was an interesting one because I wasn't expecting the problems that I had from it. So if you haven't seen that, you may want to tune into that. And as far as doing more with the Accuquilt, I'll be honest, I'm getting tired of it. of doing them. I'll do a few more probably, but I think this week I'm going to try to do, because this was a request, that I talk about and demonstrate how I use my Stripology rulers. And there are some tricks that I want to share with you about that. So yeah, this week on So Chatty, amongst other things, I will probably have a segment on, have to think about my words, a segment about using the Stripology rulers. I love the Stripology rulers. I use them all the time. On Stephen and Walter Live last week, we talked about two topics. We talked about Pride Month and we talked about FIFA. And this whole, yeah, really, I am not a FIFA fan. I'm sorry if you are. Nothing against you. Please don't hold it against me. But there are some realities about FIFA that I feel I needed to express, and which explains why I do not support FIFA. Okay, so that's in the Stephen and Walter Live. All right, I know you want to see this because it came. I bought it, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with it. So my Japanese fabric order came. I bought this from an online store that's here in my province called Calliston, something like that. I forget now. Anyways, they have all kinds of Japanese fabric, and it is real Japanese fabric. And so I ordered what you see in front of you. Now, Japanese fabrics tend to be a little muted in their colors, as you can tell here, and they have a very different look from what we're used to. Um, so I wanted to supplement. I bought 3 different prints when we were in Japan. I wanted a little bit more, and you'll see why in a minute. I bought only 1 meter of each of these. Price wise, it wasn't bad at all. I think it averaged to about $18 or $19 a meter, as much as maybe 20 a meter, which right now, that's pretty good. I would have expected to pay more because of the nature of Japanese fabric. You'll notice that I have 4 fat quarters of the same stuff. Well, when I received this package the other day and opened it up and checked it through, these fell out. And yes, I did order this fabric, but I thought I had ordered it as a meter. Now, the prices for all of this on this online site are all done in quarter meters. So like 450 a quarter meter. And then if you want a meter, you have to put in that you want 4. Okay, fine. So I got these fat quarters. Now, I really wanted them as a solid piece because at that point, I wasn't absolutely sure what I was going to do with it. And so, more versatile if I have a full meter rather than 4 fat quarters. The other thing was, when I opened up the package, there were only 3 of the fat quarters. Well, that got me a little concerned. Plus, on top of all of this gets complicated, I was issued a $7.80 credit after I had paid for all of this. Later in the day, after it had gone through, I got an email notice saying that I had been credited $7.80 with no explanation. I had no idea why. So I'm trying to figure this all out. So I saw that I only had 3 fat quarters, so that's not a meter. So I'm thinking, okay, they didn't have enough of it. They sent me what they had, and they credited me for the 1 fat quarter that I didn't receive. But the fat quarters, you can see there's a price on them. They're $4.50 a piece. That doesn't, even with tax and everything, that doesn't work out to $7.80 for a refund. So I wrote to the owner of the store. And I said, okay, this is what's happened. And on hindsight, I might have been a little severe in my email, which was not my intent. I have never dealt with this particular online store before. It's Canadian. I like to support Canadian. So the tone of my email, let's put it that way, was accusatory. Yeah. And I said, well, look, okay, I was very disappointed when my order came. And I explained this whole thing. I wanted a full meter of this 1 fabric. I thought that's what I was going to get. You sent me 3 fat quarters. That doesn't make a meter. There was nowhere on your site, I've checked it, that said, a little box to check if we don't have what you want as much as you want. Do you want us to send you what we have? Some sites do that. This particular site also tells you how many they have in stock. And it said there was enough in stock. So what's going on here? And I got this refund for $7.80. What's that all about? I may have pulled out the YouTube card as well, saying, like I review sites and that kind of stuff. I wasn't in a good place when I wrote that email. And, I should have taken my own advice, because I know never write an email when you're disappointed or angry. So the owner got right back to me. That was impressive, really fast. She wasn't particularly happy with me either, and I do not blame her at all. When I went back and reviewed my email, I wasn't a really nice person. I mean, I didn't say horrible things or anything like that, but the tone, yeah. So she explained to me, and she actually linked. She took the time to link up to specific pages on her website. She linked it up to where I bought this fabric that came in fat quarters. And she says, if you'll notice, it says in italics, only fat quarters available. I missed that. There it was. I missed that in the description. I'm not going to make any excuses for that. My bad. And right after I sent off that initial email, I found the other fat quarter. I don't know how this happened, but when I took the package down, I guess I must have opened up the package as I was coming down the stairs down in here. That fat quarter must have been on the top. It slid out of the bag, fell on the floor at the bottom of the stairs. I never saw it. So my bad again. I immediately wrote back to her. Actually, I wrote back to her before she sent me her reply and says, oh, no, I said, it's my mistake. I actually have all 4 fat quarters of that fabric. So sorry. So anyways, she did explain also that the refund was because overcharging on the shipping. I guess she deals with a company, and she has a basic flat rate she puts up. But if it's less than that amount, she refunds, which is really nice of her, the difference. Of course, it would have been nice if I had known that that's what that was for. Now, I did sort of suspect that, but I wasn't sure. Okay. I wrote back to her and I apologized. I said, I am so sorry. You've impressed me with your customer service. You got right back to me to correct the situation. Oh, she offered for me to send back the 4 fat quarters. She even told me the cheapest way to do it. And she would credit me for those. She says usually that's not her policy, and she does have it in her policy, no refunds, which that's not unusual. And when you buy fabric online, they don't give you a refund. You know, you bought it, you got it. So I wrote back. I thanked her for that offer. She said she'd make an exception this time because that was the first time I've ever been to the website. She also got in a plug that fat quarters are very popular on her website. She has a whole section on them, and that's what a lot of her customers like and buy. In other words, you're a crank, meaning me. I can read between the lines. But she was being very diplomatic, you know, as an owner of the store. So I wrote back to her. I apologized. I told her I'm so sorry that my email was in the tone that it was. Thank you so much for getting back to me really quickly and setting the situation straight. It was me, not you. So it's all solved. So anyways, I have my Japanese fabrics. Now, what am I going to do with them? Well, I'm going to show you. So I went looking for patterns that had things in them that would speak to me about Japan, because this is going to be kind of a memory quilt in some ways. Of course, one of the most predominant things in Japan are kimonos. We went to a museum, saw some kimonos there. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. They are works of art. And so I thought I'd like to find a pattern that features kimonos. That was easier said than done. No, there are patterns out there, but the kimonos, many of them, the block for the kimono is paper piecing, and I do not like paper piecing. And then there were some that were just so stylized that you had to use your imagination to determine that this was supposed to be a kimono. Or there were some that were kind of juvenile in the way they looked. I didn't want any of those. I also didn't want to pay for a pattern, because a lot of these patterns I did see were ones on Etsy, and I don't trust Etsy. I very seldom buy anything from Etsy. And also, you can't see all you see is the front cover of the pattern. You don't know, like, what's the construction like? Uh, how are the instructions written? Are they clear and everything like that? I don't want to pay for something that, I paid $14 for this pattern and it's badly written because it's written by somebody on Etsy. I don't know. You're taking a chance. I'm sure there are lots of things out there that are great, and many people shop on Etsy. I'm just not one of those kind of people. So I did find some free patterns. And I downloaded several of them and I took bits and pieces from them and I started thinking, well, I'm not finding something that's giving me instructions for making a kimono block because that's what I wanted. Can I design my own? So I started by looking at those patterns, the pictures in them. I created this. Okay, at first I thought, well, this will work. This is just scrap fabric, by the way. I'm not using my Japanese until I get this finalized. I showed it to Walter, and basically he said, what's that? I said, kimono. He says, oh, something not quite right about it. And he's right. I looked at the pictures again and thought, no, this is more looks like an airplane or something, or an hourglass with a point on the top. I don't know. So we reworked the idea, and I have come up with something that I think is going to work and looks more like a kimono. This. Now, I did make a little mistake here. This is a scrap fabric as well. I wanted this color in here to go all the way down to here. And for some reason, as I was making it, I got pieces mixed up because I had to figure out how to make these pieces, these angled pieces as well. So I was experimenting. I think this will work. I really do. It's a stylized, yes, but I think it looks like a kimono. And I wanted to see what it would look like with a whole bunch of these. Because I haven't decided, do I want to put this all into a big quilt with sashing or not? I am thinking of actually doing it in the style of a grandmother's attic kind of thing. Maybe. I don't know yet. I've even thought about doing it on point, although I'm not sure how that will look. This is a rectangle. I don't know if on point would work or not. It might. But I have created this. I've written down my instructions, so I know how to duplicate this. And today I'm going to work out a little bit more detail on this and maybe try one actually done in the Japanese fabrics. So essentially my design is you have your background and then you have two prints. And I think with these Japanese fabrics, as you can see, I think this is going to work out quite nice. I think it'll look really lovely with that. I'm hoping. So yeah, am I going to write this as a pattern? No. No, I am not. Mainly because I'm not sure how to explain how to do these pieces. That makes it clear. And I'm probably doing them wrong. But it works for my brain. So yeah. So that's what I have planned for my Japanese fabric. We'll see how that all works out. I still got to make another test piece, but using the actual Japanese fabrics with that. So thank you for everybody who sent in comments and gave me suggestions for this. And we'll see how this goes. Okay, so that takes me to subscribers' creation of the week. And this beautiful quilt comes from Lily Foss. And just before we see Lily's beautiful creation, just a reminder, I welcome your submissions. For me, they're not submissions. You send it to me, I'm going to show it. As long as it's a finished quilt. I've had a couple of people send me flimsies. No, I'm not going to show flimsies because those aren't quilts. Okay, sorry if I'm a purist, but no. But I'd be more than happy to show a picture of one of your completed projects and just send me a little blurb, 50 words or less, about it. And I'll feature it on a future episode of the Idiot Quilter. So just send them to my email with one picture in JPEG format. as an attachment or whatever. And I know some of you had trouble figuring out the technology for that. So whatever way it is that gets the picture to me, I'll make it work. Okay, let's put it that way. So yeah, so here is Lily Foss's beautiful quilt. This week's quilt from subscriber comes from Lily Foss, and Lily writes this about this beautiful creation. She says, "Good morning, Stephen. This is a quilt I made with scraps, 2.5-inch squares. I love making scrappy quilts. This was a lot of fun for me. It didn't take as long as one would think." Well, a great scrap quilt, but it almost reminiscent of an Irish chain quilt, and it looks really quite good. I must say you do have a lot of patience, though, Lily, to have 2.5-inch squares, because there's quite a few squares in this quilt, because that's a good size quilt. I love the colors, but it just goes to prove that, you know, you don't have to be particular about coordinating all your colors if you're doing scrappy. And, you know, when you put it on a sort of a light colored background, so it really makes the colors pop, especially with the intermixing of blacks in here as well. So really a nice quilt, and I don't know if you intend to give this as a gift or not, but if I was to receive it, I would be extremely thrilled with it too. So thanks very much, Lily, for sharing this with us. So that takes me to the short tip of the week from YouTube. And this happens to be about using the Stripology ruler for creating log cabin quilts. And I thought this was a good one to put up this week, since I'm going to be talking about Stripology rulers later in the week on So Chatty. This week's tip from YouTube is about making a log cabin quilt using the Stripology ruler. Now, I have several of these rulers. I use them all the time, all 3 different sizes of them, and I absolutely love them. And you know, when you're making a strip or making a log cabin quilt, there are a lot of strips to cut, and this just makes your job so much easier and much more accurate as well. So this little tip will show you how to use your Stripology ruler, if you own one, for making a log cabin quilt. Okay, so this takes us to the next segment in my tutorial slash demo of the Healing Waters quilt that I designed. And this week, this is a short video clip. Basically, it shows you how I made the side columns and rows. And this only runs about 5 minutes, so sneak in a little coffee if you wish.
Okay, so as you can see, I have all my blocks made. This is not the way the quilt is going to look when it's finished. And the next stage of this is to take these blocks down. You may wonder why I have them up here in the first place like this, just to keep them straight. Now I'm going to take them all off the design board, and I'm going to put them in their piles by according to number, block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4, etc. And then we're going to work on the first side piece column, and I'll show you how that all goes together. But first, we have to get these off the wall. Okay, so in the pattern you will see there is a page that looks like this, and that is showing you the layout for the left-hand side column. And I've already arranged the blocks, and you can see you need a block 1, 2 block 2s here, a block 5. This is one that was in your cutting instructions. It's just a square, 6.5-inch square, cut from fabric A. And then you need 2 more block 2s, and then 1 block 1. And you lay them out this way. Now be careful. Follow the diagram closely and look at those blocks that are down in the bottom corners or top corners, because you want to have them oriented the right way. So in the case of this one, we want, and we have a mistake right off the bat. I laid this one out. I think I laid this one out incorrect. No, I didn't. I put it the right way, but this one's wrong. No, this one's right. Okay, this can get confusing, so take your time laying it out. So we want this block, which is the odd unit out, going this way, And then that's block 1, block 2, two of them together, but making sure that the matching corners are together. Then that one's no problem, block 5. Then back to block 2 again, making sure the two matching corners are side by side. And then block 1 at the bottom, making sure that that dark square is going, now do I put it the right way? I did put it the right way, is going up. So that's what we have for now. What we want to do is sew this all together. 1/4 inch seam allowance. And if all goes well, it'll fit right along this side. We'll check that out. So as you can see, I have sewn the left column here, and it fits perfectly with the measurements that I cut for the panel. And the reason I bring that up is because I've had trouble with panels before trying to get things to work mathematically correct. But this one, I'm very proud to say, does work. So stick to the measurements that I've told you and cut accurately. Make sure you line up the intersection points when they come here. It's important, so things will look nice and straight on your quilt. So now all we have to do is do the same thing again. We're going to make this same piece, and we're going to sew it to the other side. Now, when you do that, make sure you have the orientation of the blocks according to the diagram in the right direction. So for example, you'll notice that this end block and this end block are right against the quilt. Make sure, even though they are the same, make sure you flip it so that those blocks are on the inside closest to the panel in the other column as well, and then you'll be okay. Okay, so now we've got the right side of the quilt sewn on as well, and we did it the same way as the other. We just flipped it so that the blocks are in the right place according to the diagram that you have in your pattern. So that means now we want to work on the top and the bottom parts, and it's the same thing. I've laid it out which way the blocks go. Do be sure to have the blocks going in the right orientation, and you're going to make 2 of these. They'll both be identical. They'll just be flipped when we put them on. So you need to make 2 of these strips, and then one will be the top, one will be the bottom row, and then you're going to sew it all on the top and on the bottom, just like you would for any other quilt. So that's what we're going to do next.
And so that takes me to the end of this week's episode. I thank you for allowing me to rattle on about my projects and everything else. Yeah, put your comments, suggestions. If you've got some ideas you'd like me to explore on the Idiot Quilter vlogs, put those in the comments below or send me an email about that. I'd be happy to entertain your ideas. And I hope you have a really great week. I hope you're enjoying nice weather. If you're having nice weather where you live, we're having nice weather where I live. Why not take your sewing machine outside and have some fun with it out there? Enjoy nature, enjoy the beauty of the summer, and enjoy your favorite hobby. Yeah. So have a good week. We'll see you later. Bye for now. Hi. I'm just going to interrupt my program for just 1 second to remind you to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for future notifications. That's all I ask of you. Show me a little love. Thanks.